welcome to bettingnews.boilsports.com. I'm Leon Blanche, delighted to be joined by our two entertainment experts, Tony Pring and Nicola McGeady. We're going to start first with the X Factor. Terrible, sad loss to lose Jedward. From an Irish perspective, they certainly gave the show a bit of colour and a bit of life. But how's the betting now shaped up? Of course, one of the anti-post favourites, Ollie, was in the bottom two last week. What are his chances looking like, Nicola?
I think Ollie has kind of lost it a bit. He was a bit of a one-trick pony. He had just this one dance, and that's what got the audience going for him. But now I think it's actually Joe. He got a standing ovation off the judges last week, and he did a great performance. However, whether he can win it or not is questionable. I think he's more of a choir boy than an X Factor superstar. He is the favourite, though, at 7-4, and the public seem to really like him, so I wouldn't be surprised if he won it.
Tony, from an Irish betting perspective, the two lads were very popular in terms of the nation getting behind them. But I know you're a fan of Stacey Solomon.
I'm not that mad on Stacey. I think she's a very good singer. I think Joe's an excellent singer. I think they're almost sort of a male and female sort of equivalent of each other. I think it's a desperate shame we lost John and Edward last week. I think they brought a lot to the show, and I think a lot of people, if you're reading a lot of the blogs now, a lot of people probably aren't going to bother watching it anymore, and that's a bit extreme, but that seems to be where they take a lot away from the show. Now, they were the entertainment, they were why people were watching the show. A lot of people were watching the show, so yeah, I think it's taken a lot away them going, and it's still wide open.
Now, in terms of Daniel, he's had a bit of a roller coaster ride. He was down, then he was up, and now he seems to be losing a little bit of support again. Cheryl, I think, has a personal vendetta against Daniel. She was very harsh against him last week when I thought it was a very good singing performance. How are his odds looking like to win the competition outright?
Daniel still isn't one of the favourites. He's at 6-1, but I think his odds are going to tumble as the show progresses. He's done really well each week, and he's managed to turn the publicity around into a more positive spin. At the start, he was absolutely hated, but now he's starting to earn the judges' respect. He's lost the cocky attitude. He's cut his hair, which seems to have worked wonders for him as well with the ladies. So I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel went on to win the show.
Now we're going to have a look at the next elimination. Lloyd has been living on a tightrope for the past couple of weeks. Maybe his performances have got a little bit better, but out of the 5 remaining contestants, he looks to be the weakest singer that's left in the competition.
I think it's hard to argue with that. I think he is probably the weakest competitor left in, but I think he has improved the last couple of weeks. I think he had a couple of very bad weeks, and the last two he's got a nice tone to his voice. He's going to pick up a lot of the Welsh vote. Lucy's now gone, so he should get that, and he's definitely, I would imagine, probably getting a fair bit of sort of the girly vote as well, the sort of teenage vote. So I think it's possible he could avoid sort of going again, and then you're going to see his price have to come down. I mean, he's 40-1 at the moment, 40-1. If he's into the last 4, he'd have to come down into sort of somewhere around about 16 or 20. So it's another interesting week, and it's not impossible that he's not in the bottom 2. So.
And Nicola, he is the favourite to be eliminated. How are the odds looking on next elimination?
Yeah, he's 8-13 to go this week. Ollie is 6-1. He was in the bottom 2 last week, so there's been some real shocks so far with the likes of Lucy Jones going and Jamie Archer ahead of the twins. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ollie got the boot at 6-1.
We're going to move over to I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Of course, Jordan has left. The ratings seem to be down by at least 500,000 to 3.25 people are not tuning in. I wonder why they're not tuning in when you can see very little clothing in the jungle. But Jordan's gone. And of course, Colin, whose partner, Justin, is still in the jungle. But the wee Italian fella seems to be the one that the public are all about at the moment. But maybe his odds are a bit too short in terms of winning it. There's still a long way to go, Nicola.
Yeah, he's very short for such an early stage, but by far he's definitely the most likeable guy in the camp. He started off at about 6-1, and he's now gone right down. He's odds on at 10-11, so it's been a dramatic cut there. A lot of people fancy him, and so far he's done nothing wrong to drift his odds out again. For me, he's definitely the winner.
Now, Tony, how do you look at it? I mean, in terms of the people who might obviously pose a little bit of threat to Gino, what about Sam Fox? She used to be good in her day, Tony.
Sam Fox is around about 12-1. She actually got a little bit shorter than that. She got down to about 8-1 after she did an early trial and made a really good job of it. But she's kind of blended in like everyone has behind sort of Katie Price while she's been doing trial after trial after trial. And we could see her come out of her shell and actually, get down to a shorter price again. She wouldn't really be for me. I agree with you. I just think Gino is way too short. I think he is the favourite without a doubt. He ticks every sort of box you could want. But around about 10-11, he's way too short. It's a long way to go, and lots of people could come into it,
Now, Tony, if you weren't going with the favourite, who would be, obviously, for a little bit of an outside bet at the moment? As you rightly said, there may be a couple of new entries into the jungle. So who would you be looking at, maybe of the ones who are in there now, to Gino?
Favourite at the moment, George Hamilton. He's done nothing wrong whatsoever. He almost reminds me last year of George Takei from Star Trek, who did extremely well, and everybody really liked him. I think he finished third in the end. But I think George Hamilton could go a long way, and he could be the danger to Gino in the long run, I think.
Now, our final entertainment piece this week goes to the ice and goes to Strictly Come Dancing. We've had a long time favourite here for this show in Ricky Whittle. He still is the favourite, I'm presuming. What are his odds looking like, Nicola?
Yeah, well, Ricky's odds on 4-6. He's been the favourite right through the competition. It looks like the two Hollyoaks actors have been leading the way. They're both the most talented, clearly. Ricky Whittle ticks all the boxes. He's good looking, he's likeable, and he can dance. So if he doesn't win, I'll be really surprised.
Now, Tony, there is a little bit of a problem maybe with the second Hollyoaks actor. She is an actress, of course, Ali Bastaman. What's the latest update on her?
Ali's watching Strictly It Takes Two last night. She's injured and she's seeing a doctor tonight. Now, the rumours are on the forums that she'll probably be okay and she'll be able to dance, but she's going to be dancing with around about a couple of hours practice this week, so she's going to be vulnerable to being in the bottom two. She may well get a little bit of a sympathy vote, and if they decide she can't dance, she'll get a bye through it the following week anyway. So I couldn't see her going this week, but you know, she's had a couple of injuries now and it's obviously beginning to catch up on her.
Now, for you, Tony, is she the most likely to challenge her co-star Ricky?
I would doubt it myself. She's clearly second favourite. I mean, she's around about 5-2 at the moment, but I think it falls into a category of two Strictly this year. I think you've got clearly two good pairings in Ricky and Ali. They're the best dancers without a doubt. But I think possibly the next two in, Chris Hollins and Natalie Cassidy, are extremely popular. Watching It Takes Two this week, everybody seems to be supporting Natalie, and at a big price. She's come down this week from 33 to 16. And although she's clearly not the best dancer, she may well be the most popular, and in the long run it's going to come down to public vote. When it gets down to the last three, it's just about public vote, so she could be a lively outsider.
And that brings us nicely on now to the next elimination, Nicola, of course, in Strictly Come Dancing. Tony has mentioned a couple of the outsiders. Surely they must be very high up in the betting in terms of close to being favourite to be kicked off this weekend.
Yeah, well, Natalie, who's 16-1 to win, is actually 7-4 to go this week. She is very likeable, but she's not the best dancer in the competition. However, favourite to go this week is indeed Leila Ruiz. She's 6-4 to go. Reason being, she decided to go away during the week on a little holiday and leave her dancing duties behind. So this has kind of gone against her. She's got a bit of negative press, and of course she won't be able to practice this week or give as much time as her fellow contestants. So of course the odds have gone against her, and she's the favourite to go.
And before I let both of you go, we've discussed three shows. I'm going to put your heads on the block right now. If you both had a tenner for charity, where would your tenner go, Nicola, and where would yours go, Tony?
Okay, well, I'm going to be a bit boring here and go with the favourite for X Factor, Lloyd, at 8-13. I think he's gone. In terms of the jungle, Joe Bugner has to go with 7-4. Nobody really relates to him. Then if we go to Strictly, that's where I'm a bit torn. I'm going to go with Natalie at 7-4.
Now, Tony, follow that.
I'm agreeing with Nicola on Strictly. I would be napping Natalie to go at 7-4 this week. I think Joe Bugner, as he was in the bottom two last time, I can't see where he's getting his vote from. I think he only just escaped the other day. I would take Joe in that. And I would take a chance on Daniel to go this week in X Factor at around about 6-1. He's been in the bottom two before. He's had a few weeks now where he's probably got the vote. I reckon people might forget him this week, and there's a chance he could go. He might be a bit of value at that price at 6s maybe. So.